Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel. Tobin here with you. Much appreciate you guys. If you could, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to 560 WQAM's YouTube channel. I always put that in the description. And you guys can watch Tobin and Leroy every single weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also, you guys can watch Game Day Uncensored as myself, Solana Omar Kelly. We'll get you ready for every Dolphins game coming up this year. 4 hours of pregame action. It should be a lot of fun. Finally, we get a resolution to the Dalvin Cook saga as he chooses to sign with the New York Jets. I don't like it. I don't like it, to be honest with you. I wanted Dalvin Cook on the Miami Dolphins. I wanted the Dolphins to add a little bit more of a star presence to the backfield. I like stars. I would have thought with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, you get a guy who's been a 4-time Pro Bowler, a bona fide stud, a hometown kid who obviously wants to play here, and how dangerous they could have been. Man, I think it would have been a monster move. Now you add on top of it the fact that he goes to the New York Jets when it doesn't really even feel like he wanted to go there, And yeah, the Jets offered a lot of dough. It sounds like he'd get almost $9 million. And it didn't feel like the Dolphins wanted to go that way. They wanted to see if they could get him on the cheap skis, get him on a little thing called hometown sentiment, a little hometown discount. But Dalvin Cook was not going to do that. And I do think that for running backs, especially right now, you cannot do that if you're a running back right now. You cannot play in the heart of sentiment or feel good or any of that stuff on a one-year deal. You got to get the most you can. Especially at his age of 28. They treat them almost like Playboy bunnies. They hit that age and they're ready to kick him out the house. But yeah, I can't act like I'm not bummed about this. I wanted Dalvin Cook on the Dolphins. I'm pissed he's going to the Jets. And the Jets have made, a really, really significant move to make themselves better. Breece Hall was an absolute monster for them last year. Now they got this great insurance policy if he's not all the way back, or now he can take his time to be all the way back. And you just think that, man, if they're going to have both of those guys late in the year, you don't necessarily need Aaron Rodgers to be this hero all the time. It just gives him a sick two-headed monster, especially if Breece comes back and looks healthy. I get it from the Dolphins' perspective. I'm not. This is not one of these things I want to crush them for, because very clearly they had a budget. Very clearly they had their limit, and you also go on top of it. I would say probably the guy everybody's been most fired up about in camp over the last week plus has been their rookie running back, Devon Achane. So that certainly throws a wrench into things. You're not going to feel desperate because, you're going to bring Dalvin Cook here, and he's going to get how many touches on this team that likes to mix it up with the guys that they run? A coach that has two guys that he already really trusts. Seems like maybe they have something budding with a rookie. And then on top of the fact you're going to give a ton of footballs to your top two wide receivers anyway. So I get it. It's not like this is not something that I'm not understanding where they're coming from. It's just the dude wanted to be here, and he was flirting. He was flirting hard. He was flirting hot. He was flirting heavy. A masterful job on social media, I must say, to Dalvin Cook. The guy, liked everything, retweeted everything, really got, I think, both fan bases in a lather, of getting excited. But there was also this special, I think, connection to everybody who, look, South Florida loves its football. South Florida cares about the guys that are from down here. They care about the guys that grew up and came from down here. Dalvin Cook owns that stadium, has when he was on the Florida State Seminoles, did when he was in bowl games, did when he took on the Miami Hurricanes, did when he took on the Miami Dolphins. He kills in that football stadium. He really, really does. Hard Rock is, that he's got his own. He don't complain about the sun like other certain opponents that are coming in. He looks like he's in his playpen. He really, really does. And the fact that he's going to get to do that at least this season, get one more crack at it on top of a team that, look, They have made a vast improvement with their quarterback. We'll see where he's at in his career. But I tell you one thing to help an old ass quarterback is to get him some really, really solid help in the backfield. And so not gonna act like I'm not nervous about it. I think that the Jets got better, and what did they have to give up? Money. And from the Dolphins' perspective, like, you know, they're sitting here in a situation where they have some guys they got to take care of. Most notably, they got to take care of Christian Wilkins and see where that's at. He made it pretty clear that he is not. He made it clear that he believes he deserves his money. I can't really disagree with him. And I do think that there's got to be a case of the Dolphins guys that have been drafted by them that are all looking and seeing like, all right, the guys who have gotten paid have been outside guys, you know, especially lately, you know, Tyreek Hill, you get why you have to pay him, Bradley Chubb, but now you got all these guys coming up, Christian Wilkins, Tua, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, all these guys in the next couple of years are going to be wanting to get paid, and Wilkins has seemingly done everything that he, you know, has to do to get that money. But you look, are the Dolphins in a death blow here for this? I don't think so. I'm okay. Like, I get the arguments that the Dolphin is making and says, look what the yards per carry are for Mostert. Look what they were for Jeff Wilson last year. Look what, you know, having a rookie running back, having a guy, fresh legs like that. Look how the league values that more so than a guy who has that much tread on the tires. I get it. It just felt very much like I wanted to know, like, while they say he wouldn't have taken a hometown discount, I want to know, like, what the pricing point was that he would have taken. You know, first for tax, then you think hometown. But ultimately, you know, what would it have been that you could have sold him on? Because, man, the guy really, unless he just was doing massive leverage play, which is possible. I mean, the guy seems like a savant when it comes to that stuff with, you know, getting everybody's feelings riled up. He played everybody like a fiddle. Like, he really did a great job. But that whole, I thought when the visit to the Jets happened and then there was no contract, I thought for sure, oh, then wait, he didn't go to the Jets? So when does he sign with the Dolphins? I thought once that happened and he wasn't a New York Jet and he was like talking about this Cinderella story, I was like, oh, this is as good as done. Let's wrap this puppy up and let's get this signed up. Dalvin Cook wants to be on the Miami Dolphins, and I thought even was going to get a point where he would sign for the cheap skis because, look, if you're going to be anyway, you might as well be home, right? You might as well be home with the tax benefits and all that type of stuff. Might as well be in your favorite stadium. Might as well go to all that stuff. But ultimately, like, I get why the Jets ponied up the way that they did, and I think that they put themselves, look, if it's a deal that can reach up to that, and maybe Breece Hall is awesome quick and they're not worried that he is going to hit those numbers. I don't know. But certainly they have to be peacocking. They have to feel that they've gotten better. They've given a little bit more insurance because they are banking, I think, on a lot of other than Aaron Rodgers, are banking on some super young guys to continue that leap, to continue to get better. So very it's tough. It stings a little bit. I'm not gonna do my normal thing where I say never wanted him. I'm gonna save that for Leroy tomorrow, just to strictly annoy him. So yeah, man, that was that. Zeke signed with the Patriots too, huh? That was, you know what's crazy though? I feel like Zeke signed with the Patriots. I feel like in years past of a guy of his stature, a guy of his credentials, signs with the Patriots, I feel like that's a much bigger deal. You know, you think about like the old bargain backs that would sign with the Patriots, just feel like it had a little bit more cachet to it. And this year, it's kind of just like, Zeke's the best you guys could do, huh? It's not all the same in Patriots land as it used to be. As far as the Dolphins are concerned, had practice today. They brought the orange jersey back. Tyreek Hill was wearing the orange jersey today. Apparently, he balled out. I mean, he was apparently killing it, and nobody could cover him, even though they were in a non-pads practice. He was apparently an absolute monster. But the mystery of the orange jersey was solved by Mike McDaniel and revealed that it was not a discipline thing last week as to why he did not have the orange jersey.
It's more joint practices. It's kind of tricky. I don't feel like putting a bullseye on somebody's back. for no reason. Like, oh, yeah, he got the better of you today. Yeah, just so you guys know, we know too. Like, so it's more of that. But there were players that were deserving of it, but I wasn't trying to make target practice.
Pretty funny because it was actually like I was talking about this with Leroy on the show, and Leroy, that was his exact reasoning when I was like, "Oh, discipline." They're sending a message, McCochin, because I felt like McCochin did sound as frustrated as I've heard him last week, and then on top of it, no orange jersey, and Leroy was like, "I think they're probably just doing it so that nobody gets targeted at a joint practice." And I was like, "Nah, they're definitely disciplined and do both." Unless Mike McDaniel was listening to Leroy and he goes, "That's a good excuse. I'm going to use that." Listen, it has happened before. It has happened before. The other big thing that McDaniel revealed in his last media session, he did not speak today, but says that that he's happy with where Jalen Waddle's at, but they're just being extra cautious.
He rarely misses time. He's so tough. So we're just trying to protect him against himself and being conservative with it. As far as like I said before, I'm not concerned. He's doing well. But in terms of the timetable of it, he's already moving around and doing exactly what he should be doing. So when it is, I don't really know. But I'm very happy where he's at.
Take your time, you speedy little angel. As much time as you need to do your little dance. That's all I care about. Week 1, Jalen Waddle waddling all over the Chargers' ass. That's all I care about. Take your time, you speedy angel. But the Dolphins will be off tomorrow, or they're off on Tuesday, whenever you're watching this. And they'll be back at it. They got joint practices against the Houston Texans this week on Wednesday, Thursday. And then they have their second preseason game coming up on Saturday afternoon. Pre-game show will be going on at noon. So we got you 4 hours of coverage. Check that on out. And supposedly Skylar Thompson is going to be the first QB to come in. Tua will get I guess the breakdown is Tua's scheduled or believe that he's going to get a few series. And then Skylar Thompson will get his bite of the apple. Not the Eli apple, but his chance to solidify this backup QB job, or maybe blow it up and hand it right over to Mike White. So that'll be an interesting thing to check out on. But it definitely feels like there's been a little bit of angst in Dolphins land, between Dalvin Cook not signing, Jalen Ramsey getting hurt, some of the offensive issues with what is thought about, a Dolphins team that's supposed to be an offensive juggernaut. Look, it's still early parts of the camp. You're going into this third week, implementing a new defense. Good part has been, some of the young secondary guys have looked good, especially Noah Igbenogany, apparently. So that's good news. If Fangs fixes Noah, that's great news. It's a give and it's a take. But I definitely think that the Dolphins fan is a little bit going to be a little bit on edge this week with the Dalvin Cook news, Waddle getting banged up, Cam Smith getting banged up. All these guys are getting banged up. Left guard still an issue. So there's this, as I said going into the summer, I was like, hey, what? I feel like this is, maybe a drama reduced Dolphins training camp. Now the angst is starting to creep up a little bit. Now the angst is, getting there as we close in on the weeks away. What are we? We're 26 days away or something like that from kickoff. So I do think that the Dolphins fan wants to see some good performances in these joint practices. Maybe a little flair in the opening runs of the preseason game. Just put everything, settle things down a little bit, baby. But as I said, one of the things that you have to be happy about coming out of that preseason is you think about your rookies look good, especially Cam, Devon A-Chain. Your guys from last year look good, and Nezukama, Channing Tindall. I think that's that's stuff that you got to take away as positives, man. If those guys look like they are taking the right steps, the guys who are proven. The guys that are here that can do their thing. I think that shouldn't be anything that you should really stress about. That if as long as week one's there and Tua, Cheetah, Tehran, Waddle are there on the offensive side of the football, I think you feel okay about the backs. We know that they have no tight ends. The receivers all around, I think is a pretty great class, especially when you're topped by Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So it's just you get into these dog days of camp, and you're like, you're only thinking about what can go wrong. It's very rarely, everything seems like it's going perfect. And now that the Jets have gotten Dalvin Cook, it feels like it just kind of adds on to the angst.